no! The YouTube algorithm wasn't nice to me lately, so I'm going to punch it back. Or something, I don't know. Here goes! 4 bad criticisms that don't understand Hazbin Hotel and stories like it. Those are not exclusive to Hazbin. Media throughout has been and will continue to be plagued by the likes of those criticisms. I'm just using Hazbin as a case study because this show is my shit. I have compiled the 4 you will see here because I think those 4 share the commonality of having the same skewed perspective with which they evaluate the material that is presented to them. Preface: being good or bad is not fundamentally linked to liking or not liking media. You can like or dislike something for whatever reason, no matter how well regarded or hated a piece of media is, and no one should tell you otherwise. The point of this is not to argue against preference, but bad arguments. Okay, here we go with a list. Number 1. Why don't the eagles fly the hobbits to Mordor? Those are the arguments that just CinemaSins ding what they find illogical, just meant to be completely serious. Seriously? English is hard. Why didn't the heroes just do this easy solution or that plan that I came up with? Why didn't the angels use the teleportation system Adam used to project Serpentius? Or the camera Alistair made that one time? And the rebuttal to this kind of argument would be the same one apparently Tolkien himself gave to the question I referred to. Because you kind of need a story to tell in your story. And if you actually engage in this kind of culture as a creative and get in the habit of explaining away every possible easy solution someone could potentially come up with, you as a viewer will spend half the show's runtime reading the footnotes rather than the actual text. If Sarah said, "Too bad this technique that was used 16 episodes ago was a special skill only Adam possesses, damn it," or Charlie said, "If only Nifty hadn't disposed of the camera Alistair made 16 episodes ago," and every casual viewer will definitely remember, then that would be so much easier. Woe is me! Would you really believe that to be a worthy addition to the story, even though it doesn't add anything of value?
But because one of the selling points of this movie is the over-explanation of everything, everything needs to be explained in the dialogue.
I'm talking to a candle.
Candelabra, please.
Yep, that's weird. Glad you pointed out how unlikely that is so I can take off the million layers of logic armor in which I have adorned myself so that I can suspend my disbelief. We can't leave things to people's imaginations, then they might go make an internet about it.
Additionally, you shouldn't expect to get 100% of what is communicated to you, even on a second or third watch, because that is humanly impossible. How point A moves to point B and then to point C, that is what should, in most stories at least, be made as clear as possible. What is perceived and retained beyond that is entirely dependent on the individual's skill set and their momentary situation while experiencing a piece of media. Full clarity on every aspect is not something that a piece of media is required to provide or should even attempt to do. Because, again, if you do that, you will spend half your time explaining shit instead of telling a story. Number 2. The shonen anime power scaling epidemic. Well, I guess Hazbin brought this onto itself by having big anime fights in season 2. The thing is, this is not a tabletop game, it's a narrative. And what a character can or can't do in this world has to have a theme attached, ideally. Oh no, Lucifer is nerfed. Well, Yeah, because being forced to be powerless to change anything around him, when that was his greatest wish previously, is a great representation of his depression and hopelessness. Bummer, Alistair doesn't kick ass till episode 8. Yes, characters being broken and having to pull themselves back up again is what characters in stories do sometimes. And he does this not by physical force, but by the skill he is best at. Shit-talking. Why does Vox become stronger through public opinion and no one else? Because he's a TV. He's the TV. The power of controlling the public narrative is his whole theme. It doesn't need to be fitted into some kind of power system, because this is not the point. Saying that Charlie doesn't do anything at the climax just because she isn't physically fighting shows a lack of understanding about the themes her character and this whole season was going for. It doesn't just not matter that Emily and her don't join in the fight, it's thematically important that they are the ones who don't fight. It's important that they are the ones doing the humanitarian work, being the first ones to establish a force field. And it's important that they succeed despite not fighting, because it's proving their point that they were standing for this whole season right and Vox wrong. When talking about media's quality, a helpful starting point is to ask the following questions. What does this plot point, this development, this motive, whatever, what does this want to do? What does this want to tell me? And is it succeeding in doing that? And if not, what are the reasons why it doesn't succeed? In my humble onion, that is a better approach to media criticisms than to adhere to rigid ideas of what one thinks stories are supposed to look like. You're talking about rigid ideas? Number 3. Regression bad. So, Charlie does the same mistakes multiple times without learning from them. Angel regresses his development from season 1 and goes back to Val. Okay.
Constantly regressing and throwing your friends under the bus to learn nothing at the end of the arc. That describes Hamlet. Depending on who you ask, is possibly one of the greatest literary protagonists of all time. Also describes Walter White. Protagonists can be horrible people who stay in one place, who never learn anything, and who never get better. That's BoJack Horseman.
Regressing characters have always been a staple of telling a story. Arthurian epics of the Middle Ages used a narrative device that nowadays is called the Arthurian double way, where the hero gains everything he wants and then losing everything again due to a fatal flaw in his character, before he is eventually, in the latter half, successful in his quest, because he overcame his fatal flaw. Regressing characters are neither new nor a flaw of the narrative.
It's easy to put a lot of weight on the moment of change itself because that's the exciting part, and I think it's easy to be worried that if your character isn't constantly changing, you're not telling your story right. But the story is about the learning process. It's the character either resisting their arc or fighting to achieve it. Everything that it takes to accomplish that result is what defines a character.
Angel goes back to Val because people will go back to their abusers multiple times. Charlie tries to rectify the truth time and time again because how many tries would you need till you can accept that someone publicly spreads lies about you and you can't do anything about it? There are numerous ways you can treat a character and their development, if there even needs to be one, and it doesn't strictly have to be a straight line. Parasite is full of garbage people that never improve. Do you know how many fucking awards this thing won? To take up the subject from the last point, there is a lot of concrete writing advice out there, a lot of it very helpful, but don't make the mistake believing they are rules that have to be obeyed in order for a story to be good. They are blueprints serving a very specific purpose, but it's still up to you as a creative if this purpose serves your story. It's comparable to cooking. A recipe is a suggestion based on the experience of what traditionally has worked to make a good dish. But you, the cook, have to decide what to take and what to leave, depending on the specific flavor you want. And now, the most common criticism of them all, number 4. Everyone is stupid. Well, yes. And look, the truth of the matter is this. You, me, and every human being makes a lot of stupid decisions during their lifetime. It's just true to human nature. Whether you like it or not, most decisions we make are informed by previous experiences, preconceived ideas, and immediate feelings rather than rationale. Additionally, it's way easier for people looking from the outside to say if you're acting stupid than if you're in the middle of a situation yourself. And isn't it way more interesting when characters react to situations according to who they are emotionally, rather than what logic dictates? Of course Charlie acts the way she does in episode 3. She has always been the person who fixates so much on achieving her dreams that she acts stupid and accidentally hurts others sometime. That is nothing new, it's just on steroids in episode 3 because of lingering trauma by Serpentius' death. And if this is established in her character, then you won't have to need to explain actually why this is narratively a bad thing.
Like, from a narrative standpoint, it's not bad that Christian is bad, that he's a bad person or a bad boyfriend. It's a story, it's drama, we want conflict, we want some volatility and excitement and even a level of emotional intensity that would be exhausting in real life but is fun to pretend with for a few hours.
Sure, Lucifer steps on the obvious trap. I mean, it's Lucifer. He's the guy who is so caught up in his own emotions that he can't for the life of him see anything beyond the tip of his nose. Obviously Vox is dumb when it comes to Alistair. The deer is his weak point. His disapproval is the scar he wore on his soul for decades. Well, that's the point.
It is true that sometimes over decades, you can still feel as hurt and as upset as the day that it happened. Really all depends on if you are replaying this hurt, this feeling in your head over and over again. That's how we remember. That's how we keep those neural pathways of hurt fresh.
Yes, Angel going back to Val because of what he did can be logicked away because he was hypnotized and not much of what he imparted to Vox was that relevant anyway, but that isn't the point. Again, from the outside you know that, but being in the situation yourself, your brain will lie to you in accordance with your own insecurities.
And unfortunately, when you've gone through that, whatever you are told so many times, it becomes the script that you write in your head. And it's not just a script. It's not a record. It's what you believe. You believe that you will be rejected. You believe that you are unlovable. You believe that you do not deserve better. So you end up self-fulfilling this prophecy that you've been told.
This attitude goes beyond character action onto plot points and often has the unfortunate side effect that gesturing to a story beat that might have the shape of something stupid is treated the same as making a point. Wow, isn't the My Little Pony stuff stupid? Well, it's cheesy as hell, yes, but as I've already touched on, it isn't stupid in the sense that it's irrelevant or unconnected to the established themes. Hey, isn't it stupid that Alistair beats Vox with a dumb technicality? No, actually he beats him by knowing his opponent intricately and using that knowledge to his advantage. The method he always uses and has always used to get what he wants. Pointing a finger and calling stupid isn't enough, you have to elaborate in what way it breaks narrative, theme, or character to actually make a good argument. A thing that all those points have in common, I think, is that there is either a misunderstanding of what Hazbin wants to be, or a reluctance to engage with it on those terms. The goal of every story is to form a relationship with its audience, and Hazbin's method of doing so is fundamentally emotional rather than intellectual.
These critics seem to believe that by understanding the technical flow of a plot, that you'll understand all the components of storytelling. I disagree. The way a film makes you feel is more important than the plot as written on the plot summary.
It's a musical for one thing, and music is inherently more emotion than pure text. That's why you tear up on certain melodies, even if the lyrics themselves don't warrant that or aren't even there to begin with. And again, none of this you have to like. Doesn't mean it's bad though. When you're doing vacation in the mountains, you don't get to complain about the absence of a beach. Maybe mountains are just not for you. And I'm not even advocating to never use your own personal preference or feelings in a review or something. I like people who have feelings. That extends even to the hotly debated word cringe. I don't think it's cringe to use cringe, because everyone knows instinctively what that feels like, so it's a useful word to explain how something makes you feel. Just be aware that this is what you're doing. You're sharing a feeling, not an argument. And what you'll get in return is an exchange of feelings, not an argumentatively valuable discourse. So what I'm advocating for really is to not confuse the two. Bonus complaint! Could you please stop calling every romance story fan service? It makes no sense. I can't believe this romance movie was only fan service and no story. Because apparently romance isn't a story. How to close out on all that? Well, how about this? At the end of the day, the matter of the fact is this. While you can certainly appreciate logical cohesion, you will never love a piece of media for being logically airtight. You will love it for being emotionally effective. Welcome to the end. Second recording, because the first recording was plagued by my accent being to the roof. Woo! Yeah, anyway, I feel so light now getting that off my chest. I can move on to prettier, funnier things. I have an ongoing series about Hazbin Hotel where I'm more positive and educational and sometimes even funny, I think. And if you choose to check it out, I just want to clarify that if I'm asking nitpicky questions there, it's for the funsies and not because they're real grievances I have. I do have a couple of grievances. There will probably be a video about what I think the vaggy problem is soon-ish, maybe. I like criticism. I wanted to hear the good kind, and that's why I know all the bad ones now. The algorithm can't stop now feeding me those. I don't want to see any more. Thank you, please. And yeah, this is the end. I already said that. Okay, bye!